Good evening. I'm Alara of Sirius, and you're watching One Foot in 5D. It is a Wednesday night live, and I have a wonderful special guest on with me tonight, CJ. How are you doing, CJ?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on. Hello to everybody in the chat. It looks like I can see you guys, so everything's working out well. If my audio is good on all platforms, can I get a 5x5 in the chat? Hi, Morning Flower. Good to see you. Hi, Foil. Zombies are next. Amy, the Butterfly Beacon. Tessa, Sarah. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so this is gonna be a great show today. We're gonna discuss CJ's story, which is quite kind of prolific, really. He hasn't done. Thank you for all the 5x5s in the chat, you guys. He really only, to my knowledge, has only done one interview before this, and I can't remember the gentleman's channel. Do you
That
know?
was Dr. James Dean.
Dr. James Dean. Yeah, it was a really, really good interview. So let me read a little bit about CJ before we get started here, you guys. CJ is a first-hand close contact witness to an unidentified aerial phenomenon, also known as a UAP, that occurred on June 29, 2015 at 1:15 a.m. in Wadley, Georgia. He is also a 19-plus year veteran, current active duty member of the armed services in the United States Army. He has since been working with Linda Moulton Howe on telepathic, binary coded messages he has been experiencing in his sleep. Dr. Horace Drew, also known as Red Collie, who I interviewed before on the show during the Crop Circle episode, he actually mentioned CJ a few times. Dr. Horace Drew has been the leading translation expert decoding the messages CJ has been receiving, as well as others in their field of expertise. Because CJ is still currently active duty military in an occupation sensitive in nature requiring security clearances, he wears a mask to protect his identity. He may also not comment on some things due to the sensitivity of his work and obligations to not compromise operational subject security. So, just before we get started here, I just want to thank Super Chats from last week. Thank you to Rob McTavish, Shannon's Theory, Suiterbug, Spirish Million, Danielle Harper, and from D-Live, Wise Mama. I think it's Wise Mama, might be Wise Bear Mama, Low Country, Nathan, and the top contributors, Blue Phoenix, Morning Flower, and CK Whitehorse 180. Thank you so much for your support. And let me go ahead and go to a commercial real quick before we go ahead and jump into it.
Do you want to bring balance to all the wireless radiation fields in your life, including 5G? The Omnia Radiation Balancer is a small sticker you can stick on any device. It changes the state of the field and creates a new resonance between the wireless radiation and your energy field. On the link below, you'll see all our testing results that show how the body responds excellently once you've made this change in your life. Plus, here's a special discount code at the store. Just enter SFN at the checkout. It's easy to bring balance back to your body with the Omnia Radiation Balancer.
All right, we're back. So yeah, CJ, it's so good to have you on. So for those that I was trying to explain earlier, Dr. Horace Drew, also known as Red Collie, he came on and did a crop circle breakdown not too long ago on my YouTube channel. And I think he's going to come back at some point in the future too and decode some more of these crop circles. He taught me an awful lot. But he mentions CJ in his interview. And I'm very privileged to have CJ come on and tell his story. It's very important. And this is an awesome treat. So CJ, why don't we start with what happened to you June of 2015?
June of 2015. Okay. So I'm active duty military, as you mentioned. I had come down on orders to PCS from my current duty station that was in Georgia there. I was packing up a large cargo trailer that I was towing behind my truck, wife, kids, all packed up. And we left roughly around 8:30 at night. We had dogs with us. We didn't want to make the trip brutal on them during the day in the heat down in the south. So we decided to do our trip at night so it's easier on our animals. And there's less traffic towing a large 30-foot cargo trailer behind my pickup truck. So with that said, we left around 8:30ish, 9 o'clock, if I don't remember correctly. Could be a little off. Somehow a long route. It should only taken 4 hours to get to Atlanta from where we're coming from, which is roughly the Savannah area. Should have only taken us 4 hours from Savannah area to Atlanta. But something wasn't right. The GPS that I had set for my next duty station, which was in Colorado, somehow took us off route in the midst of this. We got off course and we're traveling up Highway 1 north instead of going east. Some odd things started happening to the vehicle. My headlights would dim or get really bright. We couldn't tune in into any radio stations. I switched it over to satellite radio, and that was started messing up. Started going through a lot of dense fog, and it was just kind of creeping us out. It was kind of early for that. We weren't expecting it. We didn't understand what was going on with radio stations. I just assumed that we were just getting out of the area. But then the dash lights dimmed down and the headlights. My wife asked if I was playing with the lights, and I was like, no, I don't know what's going on with them. We continued on when my wife looked up off to our upper left of the vehicle and pointed out that there was a bright object in the sky looking like it was moving quickly in our direction. I looked up. Honestly, right off the bat, I thought it was an aircraft or airplane coming in to land on the highway, trying to make an emergency landing or something. It really just kind of freaked me out. I didn't want to be in its path, so I pulled the truck to the side of the road and stopped. I feared that if I kept going, that I was going to be in its touchdown zone or area that was going to touch down. And we stopped, but the object just it looked like it just stopped, maybe about 100 meters off the ground, leveled out, and was and slowed down, very slow, and just very slowly creeped over the top of our vehicle. I mean, I rolled down the window. I couldn't hear any sound from it. There was a mild hum, but I couldn't recognize it. It had no markings like an aircraft. It had no appendages off of it. The light source wasn't attached to it. It was just something that you just see in science fiction. And to be honest with you, I'm really familiar with what is in our skies. Extremely familiar with what's in our skies, more than just about anyone. I've spent my entire career noticing or being able to recognize what we have in the air and what our adversaries have in the air.
Right.
And this was absolutely nothing I could recognize. Even the markings on it were nothing I could recognize off the bat.
So could you see the mark? How close would you say it was above? It was above the car at this point, right?
It was so close that I leaned into my dash looking up at it, and it was right above us.
Wow.
It just creeped right above us like worm speed, like super slow speed. And it seemed to me, it seemed like we only had the encounter for like maybe 5 to 8 minutes before it decided to increase altitude and increase its speed, moving off to the northeast, and then made an abrupt turn from northeast to direct east and continued increasing in altitude, and within a blink of an eye, it just shot off into the clouds and was gone.
What did it look like, CJ?
It looked like it had like an oil slick on water. If you are in after a rain and you see all the vehicle oils on top of water, and puddles and things, it had that kind of rainbow looking effect to it all around it.
So iridescent. It was like iridescent.
It was. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Iridescent. it seemed to just be flowing all around it. And the rear of the object, it once again, it wasn't attached or touching the object, but it was projecting spark type of thrust in the rear. Um, and the same thing in the front. The front was projecting a light, a bright beam light out front, and it seemed to move. The light seemed to move in the direction that it was about to travel when it was leaving.
Oh, interesting.
So it just threw me off that nothing was, and these two items were not attached, but it was somehow manipulating the environment around it to squeeze it through or move it around in the space around it. It was something I've never in my life ever seen.
Was
It's
it an
something that I don't.
was it an identifiable alloy or metal or no?
It was like a dark metallic look to it, almost like a dark aluminum, a dark aluminum type material.
But with the
Eh,
iridescence coming from,
right.
and then the light traveled ahead of it, kind of.
Correct. The emblems that were on it were much darker than the entire object itself, so those stood out quite simply. But it just looked like it was built into it. The emblems it did. I didn't see any ridges or raises or rivets or anything that could
Oh,
help identify what it came from or how it was parted together, put together. That's what I was looking for, trying to find something to identify what it could be. Some sort of logo or tail number or anything. I was looking for any type of something that would help me identify it, and I didn't see anything besides those emblems that I didn't recognize. Um,
what did the emblems look like? Is it
Off bat, it looked like a sphere with it looked like a bridge going through the sphere.
mhm,
There was a triangle with some dots and spots on it. There was a character that kind of looked like a box figure of a giraffe. Um,
wow,
some, yeah, I drew them down when I created them,
right.
or when I had tried to identify what they were later. But those are the ones that I remember, and I couldn't recognize any of the characters that were on there, any of the emblems that were on there.
Okay. So so you said it creeped over, correct? It didn't just appear like we've discussed. I've had similar sort of experiences, and the ship didn't creep over, it just appeared. So this actually creeped over. You saw it coming towards you, right?
It was coming down from the sky really fast, like it was about to like plow into the roadway. Like I
Right.
thought we were about to be a witness to an air accident or air crash. I thought it was an aircraft that had some sort of engine trouble and was
Right.
making a crash landing right there. I thought I would have to be performing first aid on people or something. I really gotten real nervous about it. And the way this whole thought process, when you're thinking you're about to watch an air disaster,
Right.
and then it turns out to be something completely unfathomable. It
Right.
it just it just blows your mind quite
Right.
a bit. I've seen a lot of things. I've not seen things like that. And the crazy part is my wife was right there witnessing the whole thing. She was just as baffled as I was. My oldest son was kind of half in, half out of sleep. He noticed it, but then didn't seem to be bothered with it, and immediately like knocked himself out. He was asleep, and before I knew it,
Right.
um, I I know right before he was kind of awake, but right after this thing whipped off, I look back at him. He's sleeping. Yeah.
So you
So
have no idea how long it was there. Did you ask your wife, or did you say anything to her, like, are you seeing this, or did you guys, I mean, what was that moment like with her?
oh, we were trying to figure out what was going
What was
on
happening?
with it's dark out, and so we're going in fog, and when your dash lights dim down to like nothing but black or would come back on, or when your headlights were going in and out, it's kind of making you a little bit nervous. It was like, okay, I need my headlights to be able to see. I need to be able to read my dash. So we were kind of discussing that, and things started to go back to normal when she looked up and noticed it.
Hmm.
So I was a little concerned with what was going on with the vehicle and why every station was static, why our satellite radio that we paid for was nothing but static and all
Hmm.
distorted. So we didn't know what was going on until we noticed it. So like after this encounter, we're just baffled trying to figure out what just happened. We decided to get back on the road and continue on. We got back on the road. Probably we're driving about 3 to 4 miles, 5 miles or so, and I saw a semi pulled over on the right-hand side on the other side of the highway with another car that looked like they had stopped to watch what was happening. I just continued on, went up to a Shake Rag Express gas station, pulled in and stopped. And so I knew around this time it was like 01:28 in the morning, and we're getting out. Um, I'm feeling like I've been in the truck for maybe 10 hours, 12 hours straight. Uh, like my legs were not able to really support my weight right away.
Right.
Almost like I had been um, crammed in a small vehicle for a long period of time. You know, you get that feeling when you get out of your vehicle, you've been crammed in for 10 hours and your legs just don't kind of want to work. They're just
So
trying to get their feeling back. So
your cramps didn't match the amount of time you thought had passed, in other words.
no, we in my mind, we were only on the road for maybe an hour, hour and a half
Right.
tops. So when we get there, we noticed it was 125, 128 at when we got to Shake Rag Express. And there's other people at the gas station. Somebody's pointing up at the sky, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, is this thing back?" And I look up, but it's in a different direction.
Yeah.
We see something that looks like an asteroid way out in the distance, or like a meteor or something coming into the atmosphere. And so in my mind, I'm like thinking, okay, well, I don't know what that is, hoping it's not anything that somebody else has to deal with like I just did.
Right.
We get some things and we get back to the vehicle and we get back on the road, and we're on the road for maybe like 15, 20 minutes before we reach a dead end, and our GPS took us and told us that we were in our final destination at Colorado. And that was impossible. We were at a church right at a graveyard, and that wasn't our final, that wasn't Colorado.
Right.
So I look at the time, I realized that we had burnt 8 hours, roughly 8 hours, what would normally take maybe 2. And we have no idea how much time had gone by. We had no idea why it veered us so far off course that we just lost track of time. So we had to turn around, get back on the highway down one, and go right back out the way we came, got back on the highway and made it to Atlanta sometime in the morning around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning before we stopped. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at all. I literally just stayed awake and just rested. Got back on the road when it got dark after we ate, and continued on.
Mhm.
And then when we stopped in Paducah, Kentucky at a Motel 6, is when things got really kind of weird. I mean, they were already weird to begin with,
Right.
but things got really freaking weird.
Yeah.
So we laid down and I finally crashed out, and I had been up for 2 days. Uh, so yeah, I was a little bit burnt, and I was hyped up on coffee for the last 2 days. I was burnt out.
Mhm.
So when I went to sleep, I crashed hard. Somehow, uh, I woke up in the bathroom holding the hotel receipt and a pen in my hand, and I'm looking at the back of the hotel receipt with a bunch of squares and lines all over it.
I'm going to show them while you're talking about this.
Oh,
I'm going to show them
that's fine. That's fine.
what you're talking about briefly, real quick. Okay. So go ahead. I'll just bring it up on the screen.
Forgive me, I'm a little bit of a smart mouth. So at that moment, I ended up writing WTF on the back of it. This is not it. This is similar. This is some of the dreams that I've been having after. But I ended up writing WTF on the back of that original copy from the Motel 6. Now that first time I had that, I remember I was dreaming it, but then I woke up and it was in my hand. So I wasn't sure if I had just dreamt what I was doing, or was I actually doing what had just done. But I do remember writing WTF at the bottom, like I'm a soldier, so I'm a smart ass. I just kind of do that kind of thing. Forgive me. But um that threw me off. I remember they were these emblems that were just coming across, just whipping by from left to right.
Mhm.
And my whole thing was I had to get them down. I was like so convinced that I had to write these squares and lines down
Mm.
that I got up in my sleep and was writing them down. But they were going so fast, I could not shade them in or darken the ones that were dark and keeping the light ones light. I just couldn't keep up. But it just baffled me. I had no idea where these squares and lines were coming from.
Right.
It wasn't until later that we finally got to Colorado after a lot of driving and stopping, doing all the driving at night, that I felt compelled. My wife felt compelled. We needed to like file a report on this. You know,
Right.
she's mentioning you work with a lot of secret stuff and things like that. You might want to get it out there because you weren't on duty. You were off. You were on leave. So I would get it out there before somebody tells you you can't talk about it.
Right.
So I fully agreed on that. I went ahead and got on to uh, I, s- I filed a report with the National UFO Reporting Center with
Mhm.
Stephen Davin or Mr. Davenport.
Mhm.
I just filed the report. I wanted it out there, and I was done with it. That's it. Just wanted the report out there before somebody told me to not talk about it. So it was on his site maybe a few days, and he called me back. I guess it was Peter Davenport called me back and said, "There's some members of MUFON that would like to uh, have a chat with you or talk with you. Are you okay with that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
I'll let them know. I'm not back to work yet. I'm still on leave. So yeah, sure." So MUFON sent a investigative team out um, to write down what we had encountered. So they separated my wife and I, my kids, and they took down our statements from what happened.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, the vehicle, my truck, my vehicle that we were driving, um, they were out there scanning it and testing it with meters and all kinds of stuff. Um, I remember one of the individuals that were out there with them, an equipment tech, was getting super excited because on the driver's side of the vehicle, it had some readings of radiation, had some readings of magnetism on the driver's side, not so much on the passenger side, but a lot on the driver's side.
Mhm.
And the readings were kind of high, so they were like, I don't know, they just acted kind of excited. Um, they took pictures of marks that were on our backs and body.
You had marks
Um,
on you too?
I had random strange spots along my back and along my spinal cord, um, and center of my back, uh, when they had come out, and so they were snapping pictures of them, um, and uh, basically just getting our statements and information. They had a doctor out there and a nurse out there talking to us as well. I guess checking our mental stability and things like that. Um, they left. They wanted all the original stuff that I had, all my original copies of receipts and things. I told them, no, I'm not going to give you originals. I'll make copies and you can have copies, which I'm glad I did that. Um, they got copies. I wouldn't let them have any of the originals. I needed to turn that stuff in so I could get paid back for my PCS move. So
Right.
yeah, I kept all that stuff. And then I never heard from them again. I was like, okay, they come out, investigate. Some excitement was going on, but I never got a call back.
Did you give
They
them the
never let me.
copy of the codes that you got that night in the hotel room?
They have a copy. Yes,
Interesting.
they have a copy, not the original, but they have a copy.
So, do you think
I,
did the
so,
military catch wind of what was going on here or no at this point?
um, I don't think so. You know, I, this I kind of kept to myself.
Right.
Um,
I
I've
would too.
encountered some things while on duty,
Mhm.
and yeah, I can't talk. You know, you
Right.
you sign your non-disclosure statements and you can't talk about them.
Right.
But this happened while I was on leave, while I was not on duty. I didn't sign anything. I could talk about this whole encounter anytime.
Right.
So this is mine. This is what This is something that I prefer to keep away from them, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, So I never heard anything from him. Peter Davenport called me back and said Linda Moulton Howe would like to speak with you, and there's a few others that are, like my I keep getting messages on my phone. People want to talk to you, but I think Linda Moulton Howe is probably the best fit for you. So are you okay with that? And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I talked to Linda Moulton Howe, and that's how it started with Linda Moulton Howe. She made me feel really comfortable. She's a really good person, so she was easy to speak to with, easy to talk to. So most of my story went with just about all of it. I mean, the whole thing went to Linda Moulton Howe, and I credit her with her professionalism and the kind way she dealt with us. She was really awesome. So yeah, she started asking me to start writing down my dreams. I guess I tell her I'm still having dreams, I'm still having the squares and lines. I'm having very vivid dreams and things. I was waking up with marks on my body that I dreamt what happened when I was sleeping. Um, uh, Marks on my eyeball. Strange rectangular and square, triangular bruises on my legs, and on my stomach. Weird things on my
Oh,
body when I wake up, and so she was telling me when you have those dreams of squares and lines, and you get up and they're scrolling by like they are, we'll start writing them down. And I said, I'll try. They move fast, but I'll try. So I started writing them down, and as I was writing them down, they started moving slow enough for me where I could fill them in and
oh,
make them dark and light. As I was starting to write them down, it just seemed to slow down for me and calm down for me so I could get them down accurately. And so as things lightened up, I began keeping a journal of how they come to me. I don't know if your viewers can
wow.
see that, but
Yeah.
this is just how they come, and I write them down the way I see them when they scroll left and right from me
So you're
for me.
waking up. Okay, so let me try to understand this. So you're waking up from a sleep, and these codes will be going by when as you're waking up, and you feel compelled to start writing them down. Is that kind of how it works,
It's
or would you explain how it kind of
or-
works?
Originally they were coming by and I was just ignoring them. But it was Linda Moulton Howe told me I should probably start writing them down. It might make things easier for you because they were in the beginning, they were like, it was like aggressive and um, it was kind of wild. It was hard for me to, I would have to take an ibuprofen or something, try
Right.
to get it to calm down. So she had suggested that I start writing them down.
Right.
And when I started writing them down, they slowed down for me. They calmed down. It was slow enough where I can fill them in and get them down accurately or as accurately as I could. I'm not perfect, and
Right.
I probably made some mistakes that Red will mention, but for the most part, I just put them down the way that I see them. And so Linda reached out uh, to Red Colley, Dr. Horace Drew, to try to figure out what the meaning behind them are and if there's a message in them. And he was able to, after a couple of weeks, figure out their translations. And so Linda was getting the the decodes from Dr. Horace Drew and would call me back and tell me it would read out what Dr. Horace Drew had written on the decodes. And she was trying to explain to me what they said in
Right.
English. And yeah, it's a little bit scary when you're writing down some odd code that you've never seen before. Apparently never existed. And it turns out to be some type of message meaningful.
Right.
So I mean,
I can imagine. Yeah.
it's hard to describe. I mean, we all have dreams,
Right.
and a lot of the times when we wake up from those dreams and we can remember them, that's pretty profound. We start divulging or thinking about those dreams and try to decide what they mean by them.
Right.
But when you're waking up and seeing codes, some strange boxes and line codes um, that you have no idea what it means. And then somebody on the other side of the planet, who's in Australia, Dr. Horace Drew, is able to translate them into English, and then their translations are in English. They're in several different other
Latin,
languages.
right? Latin.
I think it was Latin was one, and then I even had one that was an ancient language that hasn't been spoken in thousands of years. It's
Sumerian?
I believe Linda said it was Sumerian, Akkadian, Sumerian or Akkadian type
Wow.
of language, and died out thousands of years ago. That a professor somewhere in the northeast was able to identify most of the characters
Just to
that
clarify,
he's been studying.
just to clarify for the audience, so Dr. Drew was involved with the Rendlesham Forest incident that happened in the 1980s, and he was one of the people that decoded the symbols and the believe it was binary code from that event that came. They came as downloads to those gentlemen, correct? That had contact with that ship, but they got the
I
codes
heard,
via downloads like you, right?
yeah, I wasn't aware of that whole story for quite some time, and it wasn't until not too long ago that I was told that Mr. Burroughs, I think it was John Burroughs, had mentioned that there are some similarities, or a couple of similarities, in what he had encountered and what I had encountered. Now, I believe there's that the Rendlesham incident was, I may have been 3 years old, 4 years old at
Right.
the time. I was a kid. So I don't remember that. So that, to find out that something happened very similar to something that happened when I was just a toddler, a little kid, was I mean, there were some similarities, but it was kind of scary too. To find out somebody else had something similar. And then over time, Linda was telling me that there was another case and then another case that had very striking similarities within what happened to me. So I don't
I
feel completely by myself anymore.
I remember hearing about your case through Linda Moulton Howe years ago. Um, you weren't doing interviews then, but I remember hearing her talk about you and your case and what happened to you. So I've known about this for quite a while.
Um,
And then I ended up talking to Red, and then, got to know him and found out, your guys' connection. But yeah, this story is utterly fascinating. And there's so Red, maybe you can describe for them. So Red, so this is like this binary code. It's not like a regular binary code of ones and zeros, correct?
that's
It's
correct.
like a four. How do I say that correctly? It's like a four. Let me show them a slide real quick, and then
Okay.
and then you can show them something if that helps them understand. So it's like, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me try to zoom in on it. Yeah. So it's a little bit different than regular binary code. I guess it's like maybe CJ can explain it a little bit better.
Okay. So Dr. Horace Drew explained to me that this is a form of a multiplex binary code format. I believe it was ASCII code, or, but in a multiplex form. So if you look at the slide and you see black zeros and red zeros, that's his way that he was able to determine that the black zeros are ones and the red zeros are zero. And it's the zeros have their own binary format in it. The
Right.
ones have black ones and blue ones. The black ones are zeros, the blue ones are the indication of one. So most binary codes are zeros and ones, but this was in a multiplex form, from what I was told.
So there's two
Um,
ones and two zeros. Instead of it just being 0 and 1, there's two sets of zeros and two sets of ones. So it's like a more complex form of binary, correct?
Correct. And as he was able to translate both the regular format zeros and ones, with the boxes, just making all boxes zeros and all lines, dark lines and thin lines, one, was a message. Then when he went back and separated, did just the zeros, just the squares, the light squares and the dark squares, was another message within it. Then when he went back again and went over all the lines and the dark lines and thin lines, and there was another message within that. And then after he had done all of them, he also recognized that some of the letters and the translations were lowercase and some were capitalized. So then there was another form, a fourth form of message that was also, so basically it was 4 messages. It's 4 different messages and one format. So it was, I don't know if I'm going to bring this up to the camera as close as I can here. As you can see, there are dark squares, light squares, dark lines, thin lines. So what that is I guess it was a code in 4 separate meanings, all tying into one format. And I was told that this never existed anywhere on the planet, and that this was the most efficient way to get to code computers, because instead of just zeros and ones, you would need, let's say, 50 pages of zeros and ones, and it would translate into maybe 2 paragraphs of message.
Right.
However, this format is maybe a page or 2, but would tell a story with like maybe a page and a half of messages in there. So it was a way.
Red is so smart. How did he even figure this out? It's just wild.
I have no idea. I mean, it has taken me a long time. It has taken me a quite a bit of time to really wrap my mind around it and understand what he was able to do and how he was able to interpret everything, and then trying to understand how he did it and how it came to be. It was, way out of my realm of expertise on how to do that stuff. He's a genius in my eyes. He's awesome guy. And
a super good guy too. It's always good when someone's a genius and a super good human being at the same time. I can't say enough nice things about Dr. Drew. Like he's just an amazing guy. I feel privileged to know him, So
absolutely.
So I want to clarify for the audience, for that are new and weren't here in the beginning. So CJ's wearing a mask not because of the Rona. He's wearing the mask to hide his identity because he's still active duty in the military. And I want to clarify one other thing before we kind of go into the rest of this. You're kind of in a position. I don't know how much of this you can actually elaborate on or not, so feel free to stop me, but you're in kind of a unique position too with your story in the way that you're familiar with we'll call it secretive type of things that our government may or may not have. And so for you to be able to identify a ship as clearly extraterrestrial, not something that potentially say one of our governments might have, you're in a rather significant, or you're in a rather unique position to be able to do that. Did I word that right, or am I making that assumption correctly? Or
no, you're making that assumption correctly. It was something I cannot describe, something that I do not know what it was, something that I cannot put my finger on it. It was something I've never seen before. If it's something that I've never seen before, it shouldn't exist at all.
That's a good way to put it. Right.
So I'm left to, it's up to you all, the viewers. You figure out what I saw. Tell me what it was. I'd love to know, because I have never seen anything like that in my life. And I have been experiencing things I've never experienced in my life that I can't understand.
Right. And you've seen some things. So, okay. So here's a question for you. So I just lost my train of thought. It always happens when I focus too much on something. That's hilarious.
Sorry.
Okay, before we go into the codes and kind of what happened, I wanted to ask you, so did you ever get a chance to meet these beings that it was their ship that were contacting you. Did you ever get to meet them, either physically manifested or in the astral plane? Did you ever get the opportunity to meet these beings that were communicating with you, apparently?
You know, I asked myself several times, you know, if they want to be known, why not just come down, knock on my door, come inside and meet me? No, but they have come in several dreams where I've woken up with physical marks on my body. It's great to have a dream and remember it when you wake up, but it's another thing to have a dream, remember what you smelled, remember what you touched, remember how it felt,
Right.
remember the temperature in the room, remember in such vivid ways that when you wake up, they're still prevalent. It's I cannot explain that at all.
Did
When I can touch something and know how it feels, when I remember being touched and know how it felt, remembering the smell that I could smell and at that location, it is just a little bit scary. And remember seeing everything.
right.
Those are dreams beyond my capability that I've ever had. I've never had dreams like that before. And to wake up with physical marks on my body, like if they really happened, I don't know how to explain that.
Did they ever tell you what their name was, or did they ever show themselves enough where you know what they look like or have some sense of what they look like?
I know exactly how they look. Drew a few pictures. I don't know if you received any of them. Did you?
I don't think I got any pictures of what they look like from you. Was that in an email? I might be able to pull it up.
No, they were on. They've been online for quite a while. Um, I don't have them with me currently right now.
Okay, so I can't pull
Still
them up.
going through some. I mean, you can pull them up if you like, if you can find them on the internet. But
Well, how would I Google for them? Just under your name,
I
or
I believe if you Google Linda Moulton Howe and Sergeant CJ,
okay.
Alien Binary, they tend to pop up, and a series 1 and 2 where she's included the pictures in them.
Okay, let me look real quick.
I wish I had brought them with me today.
Oh, it's okay. Let me see if I can find them.
They are put away and hard to get to, and I'm kind of going through that process of cleaning my garage out to get to them, but I did not find them today, so I'm really sorry about that.
Put in Sergeant CJ.
Yes, Sergeant CJ.
Let's see
It'd
if I can
be
find
blue.
them.
I know I saved the videos on my phone, which is what I'm on right now for this interview. So
Okay, so I'm not seeing it yet. Earth Files Part 3, that's her Facebook.
yeah, there's Earth Files Part 1, and I think it's Part 1 and Part 2.
Let's see. Interview with, let's see if I can find any pictures here. Okay,
Or if you
I see
Sergeant.
a video, but it's not really a picture I can show the audience.
Okay.
Are you allowed to say what the name of these beings are?
They were called, to my understanding, Emerthers.
Emerthers. Okay. I'm looking for just a photograph of them, but I'm not seeing that. There's just videos on her website. But
No, it's surprisingly.
people can dig into what the Emerthers look like. Let me see if I type in their name, maybe I can pull up. Let me look here. Maybe I can pull up some images of them. Emerthers. Okay, Emerther images. Okay, so I've got pictures now. I don't know if this is what they look like. So it's interesting because what I'm pulling up as Emerthers are what I understand an extraterrestrial by the name of Skinny Bob, who was like captured at some point, was one of these people.
It's in all black and white. Then I'm not sure.
Hold on.
I drew the pictures.
Okay, let me.
Linda found a similarity between a black and white picture that she had found and an image that I drew. I usually just would type in Sergeant CJ Alien Binary and look for pics in there, and I colored mine, so mine were in color.
Well, I couldn't seem to find the pics typing it in that way. I just looked up emerthers. You can tell me if these correct. Does this look like these folks? Right here?
The second one, probably.
This one here?
Yeah,
That one
probably
you
closer
think looks
to.
the most like him? Okay.
It's for the, yeah, maybe not quite as big of a head, but yeah, pretty close.
Does this look at
Bottom
all
right,
like them or no? Yeah,
right
bottom
next
right?
to that
This
one right there. Yeah, probably pretty close.
What about the side profile? Is that accurate or no?
Their heads are big. And what I saw, their heads were big, but not that ginormous.
Not
That's like
that
a basketball. I could slam dunk that.
Okay. I wish I could find those pictures you're talking about from Linda Moulton Howe. Okay. All right. So let me see. I'm gonna try to do that real quick. So when you started how long, over what course of time did you start writing down all these codes from them, and then what was the messages that start to came through that you can share with us? While let me try to look for those pictures while you go into that.
From what I remember, there were some. I don't have much of the translations with me at all. I just have the notebook that I kept the journal in of the messages. I believe Dr. Horace Drew sent you an email with translations in them.
Yes. Let me grab that right now.
I believe just about all of them were okay.
Okay. So let me see. Let me look them over real quick. You think I can share these?
Yeah. I believe so. I don't see why not.
Okay. So, okay, let me show them the graphic real quick about the let me grab this graphic real quick. Where is it? Oh, I had a file right here. Okay, so let me show them this graphic real quick. So there was some stuff about, what is this religious place right here? I get it a little confused. So
okay, so I guess in one of the translations, Dr. Horace Drew was able to translate there was some indications of I guess some grid coordinates or latitude, longitude format of Dome of the Rock,
Dome of the Rock,
where the Dome of the Rock was.
Uh-huh.
And then one of the translations, the boxes and lines turned out to be arches and picture format. So some of the squares and lines he wasn't able to translate correctly, but was able to find an image of arches in one of the translations.
Let me see if I can find that one.
around that time where he was where I guess some of the messages were in.
Oh, I see it. I got it right here. While you're talking, I can show them.
Right.
The one with the arches. I got it right here. Okay.
There was some yes, yeah. With it looked like a keyhole.
Whoa.
Of some sort. Yeah.
It looks like this guy's praying right here. So these codes aren't just like codes. There's like pictures mixed in with the codes with the letters, and it's like a really complicated thing, isn't it?
This is extremely complicated.
Whoa.
And I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how to understand this the way he does. But yeah, these are beyond my any level that I have that I know about.
Do you think they selected you because you are in the military and because of your background, or why? What is your understanding that you can share with us about why these ETs selected you to put this code through? I mean, they clearly selected the gentleman at the Rendlesham Forest incident and other ones. Why do you think these beings selected you to pass this message through?
I honestly had no idea why. I was their subject. I have no idea. If they are ETs, I have no idea. They could be time travelers for all I know.
Right.
All I know is I couldn't recognize them. I didn't know what was going on. And I had no idea why I was picked to put this information or to write this information down and talk about it. This didn't just happen to me. This happened to my wife. She was right there. But the odd thing is, my wife and I both had a very similar dream where we both woke up and we could tell each other word for word what we dreamt about, and they were identical. The only difference is that she was in one location, not too far from where I was, and I
Wow.
was in another location, not too far from where she was, but we had the exact same dream, both of us encountering the exact same things. Um, and even at some point, noticing each other in our dream, like these just don't happen normally. And I guess this is so much up on a spiritual level that I don't understand. I really don't. Um, yeah, I don't know what to make of this. I keep looking off to my right. It's because I'm looking at
I
my
can
notebook
so
trying to figure out.
sympathize, CJ. I can so sympathize with you. It's like I totally get it. Like I would have to say still, we've discussed the things that have happened to me, and I would have to say, even though it's been years now since it happened, or at least the more significant incidents, I still feel like I'm in shock in a way. And it's funny because I remember David Icke talking about this, where he said, if you would have asked me my name a year after these kind of spiritual or whatever, these sort of events, these paranormal weird events happened, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. Like, I was out to lunch. And like, I completely understand that. I completely sympathize with that because I've literally gone through the same thing. And so when I chuckle at times, it's because I completely understand and see what you're going through, and I understand. It's having to assimilate new information that you don't even understand what's happening to you, let alone to have to try to speak about it and tell others what's happening in some sort of coherent manner. It's quite a challenge, I will say.
Absolutely.
You know?
So I didn't think much of it besides wanting to get in the message out there. And when Linda started taking the story, she was speaking at Alien Con and many different venues that she goes to.
Hmm.
I decided it's time for me to let my mother know, my brother, some of my family members know what was going on,
Yeah.
um, just to kind of give them a heads up. And it was
Right.
uh, so I let my mother know what was going on, and my mom told me that I had done some odd things growing up. She reminded me a few times when I was a kid. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and she would tuck me into bed, and she'd go to sleep. I'd go to sleep. The door was shut, and when they woke up several times, she doesn't know how many times, but she remembers vividly several times growing up. She would she would wake up and I wouldn't be in the room. She would find me in odd places. She would find me locked out of the house on the back porch. She had found me in the back seat of my dad's car, locked out of the house. Um, she doesn't understand how those things happened with
Right.
locked windows and things like that. We had security locks on our window in case somebody tried to break in. She didn't understand how when she would wake up, she would find me in strange spots around the house,
Um,
not in my room.
Dan, I want to say thank you real quick to Shannon's Theory for her super chat. I really appreciate that. Go ahead, CJ. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So she also mentioned that my grandfather told her a story about his father having an encounter when, years back when he was a preacher. He was a preacher who delivered the mail,
Hmm.
workaholic. So when he wasn't conducting service, he was delivering mail in the small community out there in Wilmington, North Carolina area, where my great grandfather had an encounter that my grandfather told me about. Um, Quite close, and it made newspapers out there. It was a big story because he had been the preacher in that community for probably 30, 40 years. Everybody knew him, and if he said something, everybody he meant it. He didn't mess around. He didn't make stories up. So it got the headlines at that time. So I dug into it a little bit, and then I had found that my family goes so far back that I have an ancestry grandfather that was a member of the Knights Templar and was uh, a senior
Mm.
ranking person in the Knights Templar way back during the time of the Crusades. And I just dug around and just found all kinds of crazy stuff. I would have never even looked for that stuff if this had not happened.
So you
But
think it might be a bloodline thing that they choose
I,
certain people because of their lineage or
you
their
know,
family or
I don't know if it's a bloodline or if it's something that they're just that I'm more acceptable to, or I have no
right,
idea. I really don't have the answers to these questions. I'm just as doubtful as the rest of you.
right.
I'm just experiencing it and just letting someone know what's going on, letting you all know what's happening or has happened. I don't feel like this is information that should be just brushed under the rug, kept quiet. I mean, I believe there are some things out there we should keep quiet about,
Right.
but not everything. Um, we're smarter than we think than people give us credit for, and in my opinion, I believe our public should know what's going on.
Well, I can, I know I speak for myself and probably many others out there when I say we really appreciate you, taking somewhat of a risk and coming forward, as you are. That's so appreciated because, disclosure is my thing and that's my passion and everybody knows that. And I think that it's wrong what they're doing to us. I think it's wrong that we have the technologies we have and they're not shared with the public. And so this is my passion and it'll always be something I'm passionate about. I really, really appreciate you coming forward and sharing your story. Like it's not easy to come in public and, talk about things that happen to you that you don't even understand, let alone, you know what I mean? Like, so I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you, CJ. It means a lot.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah. Okay, so should we go into some of these codes about what they've said? What they've said to you?
Yes, I do not have any of the translations here, so
I
I
do.
believe you have them all. So if you want to get into that,
Okay.
that's what's wonderful.
Well, let me show these slides, these graphics that Red sent over, and then I'll go through the email and read off some of the codes in there. So this one is another one, the same thing. If this is Solomon's Temple, this is Dome of the Rock and Solomon's Temple. Is that the same thing?
Apparently, the actual grid coordinates were not on that Dome of the Rock. The Gold Palace. It was off. I believe it was southeastern portion
Yeah.
of the where near where that temple is, I guess.
So they're saying your creator is displeased, arrogant belief must allow all. So is this in reference to only one religion being allowed to go there? Is only one religion allowed to
Um,
go worship there or to go?
I believe. I mean, we can take this and break it apart and decide what it means to all of us. But what I get out of it is that maybe there's only a religion or two that are allowed to practice their beliefs there,
Right,
and that there are several religions across the planet that deserve their right to pray to their deity or their god,
right.
and they it should be sharing the space with others. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do
Yeah.
as fellow citizens and humans? Is we're supposed to share that stuff with each other? And yeah, it may not be your same religion, but practice kindness, I guess, is the biggest way to put that in the context, right?
Yeah. Do you know
And
what Goglio, accept open and free keys. Pope Francis holds keys to the kingdom of heaven. Decoders monitored. Use caution. Whoa. Do you know who
so
Berglio is? Yeah, who's that?
So what I understood is Bergoglio was what Dr. Drew told me, that Pope Francis, is biological name or his original name is Bergoglio. And
Oh,
then when he became Pope, he became Pope Francis. He chose the Saint Francis as his name.
interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
For those that okay, so do you guys remember there was a UFO incident over this same location where a UFO came down? I'm going to show you guys the graphic real quick, where a UFO came down and it did something right over the top of, like, I think it was the Dome of the Rock, right? This location. And then it left. It shot back up into the sky. You can find footage of it out there. There's footage of it. But
I
that's,
believe there were several different views from several different locations. Yeah. I remember seeing this on a show one time.
fascinating. So I
don't
wonder if
remember
that,
what
I wonder
year
if
that
that
was.
was them or not. I mean, that's just speculation, but I mean, it makes logical sense that, it might have been the same group of beings.
I don't remember what year that was. Do you remember that year?
No, I have no idea.
I
Does
don't either.
anybody remember what year that was out in the chat? Joseph Yanni says Jesuit Bergoglio. I can't pronounce the name. Bergoglio. So it's, I don't,
Jesuit.
what do you mean by that, Yanni? Jesuit. Okay, and Fearless is saying the UFO video over the Dome of the Rock is fake. I had never heard that before.
I haven't either. I know that there were 6 different videos in several different locations.
Yeah, and they do that too. Look, I've watched this play out for a long time. When something significant or real actually happens and it's documented, they'll go and put out 3 or 4 videos that are fake just to run as a psyop so people don't know what to think about the real one. I've seen them do it over and over. So,
Yeah, that could be too. Yeah. I mean, I don't put it past our government.
No, I've watched them do it. I've watched real videos of real beings come out, and then they go and make a fake one, a CGI version, just to throw the public off, and so people can go see it's fake. It's been debunked. So let me see. Okay, so some of these other codes that are in here is so we went through that. Your creator is displeased. Bergoglio. Hope I'm saying that. We already went through that one about Pope Francis. Code caution. Let me see. Rebuild temple for all. Return our gifts. Topside destruction of early libraries, artifacts, and structures. That's interesting. Rebuild temple for all. Return our gifts. Topside destruction of early libraries, artifacts, and structures. I wanted to ask you, so the crop circle of the ET that I believe it was Dr. Horace Drew that decoded it, where it said beware of false ETs, not verbatim, but beware of false prophets and false gifts, and as the picture of what we would identify as a gray ET in that crop circle.
Right.
What is
from
that?
my understanding.
Okay.
From my understanding is that same morning, on the other side of the planet, there was a crop circle that he had mentioned that literally appeared 20-30 minutes before our encounter. So NASA tracked what was entering in the atmosphere on 6 different NASA cameras, and they originally, when I had got to Fort Carson, I started to look up what happened in the sky, see if there was any news media, and I found videos where NASA had reported it as an unknown object entering the atmosphere, and they had described that it was moving too slow to be a comet or a meteor, and they had no space debris in that area projected or tracked in that area. So they originally came out and said, this is unknown. This is an unknown aerial phenomena entering the atmosphere, and it's slowing down. And after maybe like 30 minutes has passed, 45 minutes passed, NASA came right back on with a different guy and was reporting it as Russian space debris that had several other targets. And if you look at the video during that time, there is several other targets that NASA was picking up. It picked up like 5 different targets. Their camera systems were tracking 5 different targets coming in at the exact same time.
Wow.
And as they were coming in the atmosphere, they went off in different directions, but they never recovered the Russian space debris.
Right.
They said it touched down, but there wasn't one scrap of the Russian space debris that they ever recovered. So I don't know. I mean, that could have been what I saw and my wife saw when we had finally got to the gas station. We saw something that looked like a little comet off in the distance that people were looking at far away, moving north. But what we saw was moving from west to east. So
Uh,
yeah, it was definitely not the same thing, or it could have been one of those objects following that in to disguise its entry. So
okay,
I,
so
I have no idea.
Mel Tulip says, "Didn't the crop circle say something about opposing deception?"
Yes,
That was kind of my question. Is it? I know it's somehow connected to this case in some way. Do we suspect the Emerthers left that warning about another group of beings, or what's the connection I'm thinking of that I can't quite place?
that could be. I had several dreams about um, speaking to them, me being spoken to, being told that I've been picked or selected. This is in vivid dreams, so this is not actual encounters. Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to make that clear. I'm not here trying to say this actually happened. No, it didn't. These were in dreams, extremely vivid dreams that I wrote down. But I was selected because I see things in several different aspects. I don't just go judge and just go say, "Hey, this happened," and I know it happened. Well, yeah, something happened, but I don't have the knowledge or the expertise to say whether or not what something is. And
Right.
so I believe they chose me for these messages because I'm not quick to judge. I just transfer the information and make
Right.
sound based judgments on or decisions based on what I experience. Um,
So you'd
I
be a
don't.
good vessel with less distortion, essentially,
this-
for them.
That's a good way of saying it. You're
Right.
making me sound great, and I have no idea. But yes, essentially
Thanks,
that's what
CJ.
I was told. But up there were in this dream when I was up there, I met there was some other species moving around in the space that I was in and working. And I looked off to my right, and I was met with another um, angry male that looked human to me. That they called Colonel, was upset, angry, and pissed off that I was there.
He
That
was
they
different
had
than them. He was different looking than
he
them.
he to me he was human. He was speaking perfect English and pissed off of why I was there,
Whoa.
like totally pissed. And so the emerther that speaks, they make little tiny noises
Hmm.
that you can't understand, but I guess they telepathically um, tell you what they're saying.
Right.
And this emerther was telling him to be quiet, that he's already they've already violated some things, and they chose someone else to help translate because they couldn't be wholeheartedly trusted with decisions. And so apparently the information that I got is the emerger chose someone else outside of the organization that they had an agreement with to help. And he was upset. And I don't know what the emerger was telling him, but he backed off quite quickly. And the rest of my dream, I was just kind of staring him down because he came at me kind of hard. And in my mind, I'm thinking, dude gets too close to me, I'm gonna knock him out. I don't
Right.
know who he is. I don't care if he's a colonel or not. You don't coming
Right.
at me like that. My dream. This is my dream.
Right.
You get out of my dream. So so when I woke up, I was just okay. Oh, that may have happened. That may not have happened. That may have just been a dream. I don't know. I wrote it down. So
So it's my understanding that, and I don't know if you've heard this before, but it's my understanding that I have a lot of friends that are experiencers, and they all kind of say the same thing, that that a lot of times, even before a being will physically manifest, they come and they meet you in the astral plane, and they say the way you could tell the difference is it's more vivid than a normal dream. It's almost like an interruption to your dream, like it's real, like you how you describe as it being real. You could taste, touch, smell, feel. That's how I've
yeah,
heard other experiencers describe it. You could tell it's a dream. You're in the astral plane, right? Where we go when we sleep.
yeah.
But it feels different than just a dream. It's an interaction just in another plane of existence than our physical
Uh,
one.
yeah, I do not know how to explain a dream that all of your senses
Right.
are working, where you wake up and you smell your arm or and it smells exactly the way it smelled in that dream. I mean,
That's fascinating.
that is weird as all hell to me.
Right.
And I have never experienced that in my life. And that's like some super freaking powerful spiritual something. I don't know how to explain that. Yeah, I can't wrap my mind around it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, you know, the more that I talk to you too, that they would pick you because there's something, just like you said, there's something non-judgmental about your spirit, and there's something very just, it's very hard for me to articulate, but I can see why they would choose someone like you, because people tend to get in there. It's the best way of describing it. They're distortions, you know what I mean? Their belief systems, they tend to filter those experiences through that. And sometimes it can make the story come out all weird or maybe negative or positive when it should be the other. So people that can just stay neutral and just constantly seek to understand what happened to them, but not have any attachment to a feeling about it, just, this is what happened and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, probably makes them an easier vessel to go through as far as a message like this. So, I mean,
Right.
that's what makes sense to me.
I mean, I can usually make some quick decisions, but I'm not jumping to any conclusions. I'm not jumping.
Right.
I'm not jumping to fast decisions about this, you know. And I'm only going to talk about what I know for a fact, or or how I felt. But I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I just want the information out. I mean, y'all can do with it whatever you want, but it happened to me. So rather it be someone from the future, maybe it's us from the future. I mean, that was brought to my attention as well. Maybe it's something like the devil. Somebody said, "Hey, yeah, I think you were talking to the devil." Well, that could have been. I have no idea. I couldn't disprove that. Just
Right.
like I couldn't disprove any of the other theories that are out there. And I'm not gonna say, "Hey, it was definitely this." No, I can only say that I feel it could be this,
Right.
but I'm no expert in this, you know.
Right.
If I'm getting the messages, I'm just going to write them down, and I haven't gotten any in quite some time now, but I wrote them down, and I felt like it was information that someone else can do something with, you know. Um, I felt compelled to share the information, that the information should be out there, shouldn't be kept under wraps. I mean, come on now.
So you hear
If
that,
we're
guys?
trading,
If anybody wants to decode the messages and try to figure out what it's all about, you know, or I mean, Red's decoded the actual binary, but I mean, actually take the messages and do research and try to figure out what they're trying to convey and what, you know, just, I guess, a further study on them.
to my understanding, there's only a handful of people on this planet that'd be able to figure out this type of stuff, and I still can't wrap my mind around it.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll read a few more of these messages so they can
Yeah, go
get
for
an
it. Yeah.
idea of kind of what they've said to you. So I think this is in relation to Temple Mount because the coordinates are here. Rebuild
Right.
temple for all. Return our gifts. I don't know what that means. Topside destruction of early libraries, artifacts, and
Stop.
structures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I heard return our gifts, and you. So is that return our gifts where? Topside.
Return our gifts topside.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Return our
I
gifts
mean,
topside.
I
Oh.
mean, what was there before? Now that I'm thinking about it, what was there before?
So something's hidden underground that they want back brought up to the surface for humanity is what I'm.
It could be that. It could be okay. Like if you've paid attention to the internet and you watch videos and you've heard stories, several different stories, especially maybe President Reagan's brief by National Security, CIA. What made him compelled to give the speeches that he gave before the end of his presidency
Mhm.
at he was briefed on some very secret things,
Mhm.
and some missions that were handled where we had an exchange program with another planet.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm under the impression that maybe we received some gifts from those species in this exchange program that happened years back. I believe it was in the 60s.
Mm.
That they gave us that we were supposed to use for whatever purpose, whatever reason.
Mhm.
And maybe we were not using those gifts in the same aspect of things. And maybe they want those gifts returned because we weren't using them as
As
agreed,
as agreed,
intended. You know what I mean?
right?
So, I
A
mean,
Stormy Joe
there's
says under the Sphinx. He's mentioned under the Sphinx. I
under
mean,
the Sphinx. What do you mean?
I guess supposedly there's ancient libraries and artifacts under the Sphinx. That's one location. And people talk about, you know, the Vatican Library. And then I've heard too that like he has, like Stormy Joe mentioned, that there's artifacts, items, libraries, things like this underneath the Sphinx.
Okay.
So just a thought, you know.
But yeah, I was thinking about that too. Pope, the Pope is in charge of the library that they have there, don't they?
The
And
Vatican?
there's a lot, the Vatican, yeah. Isn't there like libraries there too? So
supposedly the Library of Alexandria never got destroyed, and that's where it is. And that would be all of our hidden history. That would be,
oh my goodness,
all of it.
Would that would be awesome if so many of our professors and experts can go through some of those old things, and that would be awesome to read and learn about. You know?
Oh man, I can't. That's honestly, out of all the disclosures that could come, CJ, like that's the one that I'm just like, to be able to have the opportunity to either have that stuff brought up or to be able to access that, go in there and read about our true history and all the things that have been hidden from us. Like that's just, to me, that's, that would be just amazing.
I mean, I've sat and thought about several different ways that this can be interpreted. So for years, like out in the Middle East, there are many different groups that are out there destroying statues, destroying ancient carvings to deities and gods, which they feel are against their Quran or their religion, and they're out there just destroying ancient things that maybe it's a meaning behind that. Maybe it's stop destroying your ancient libraries, you know, your ancient stuff, you know. I think we're supposed to embrace the way we lived back in those times. I mean, that's how we learn, right? We learn from our old mistakes.
Absolutely. And if we don't know our history, how can we learn? It's terrible that so much of it's hidden from us. Joseph,
we can't share those with the kids.
You mean our past, our history, or?
Yeah, I mean that our past, our history is what we teach our youth, the next generation, and on and so forth. So if we have nothing to teach them because we've destroyed it all, then you know how are we really progressing as a society?
Right. No, correct. Absolutely. I think it's horrible. I think overall people just need to be less like just love people and let them do them. You know what I mean? People have different deities and they have different beliefs, and they're all at different levels of understanding of like the world around us. And plus we've been so manipulated and lied to in so many ways that you really have to be patient and loving with other people. Like they're just, everybody's at where they're at. You know what I mean? Like not every, you know, it's just, I don't know, just humanity at large. So
I believe disclosure is around the corner, and I think that's the one thing that could bring together all the different parties that really are at each other's throats right now.
Yes.
Wouldn't that bring us all together?
Yes.
You know,
I was thinking that today.
Happen?
Yeah, I was thinking that today.
Goodness.
I even said that to somebody.
Yeah.
That we're so close to disclosure, and I said too, like, today was a rough day on a lot of people. You know what I mean? And I haven't really said anything about it yet, but I just want to tell everybody, like, you know, I'm going to keep doing what it is that I do, which is fighting for disclosure. Because I understand that, just like you said, CJ, that is the one thing that just puts an end to a lot of other things right there. There's just no, once that happens, it opens a door that just kind of ends a lot of other problems. So
let's close the news. Let's give our new president a chance. Let's turn the page. And let's find something that unites us. And that would be disclosure. Disclosure would unite us as a country, as a planet, you know. If we'd start disclosing, what do you think is going to happen with all the other countries? You know,
they have no
I
choice.
think that's one way of bringing us all together. You know, I mean, we're not dumb. We know what's going on. I mean, most of us out there who've gotten a little education or can think for themselves, it's mathematically impossible. We're not dumb.
Right.
You should let us know some things, but yeah, there are other things that we probably shouldn't disclose, such as weapons and things like that. Those things need to be kept behind closed doors, but at least fill us in on the small things, you know. Let us know what's going on.
I'm still holding out hope that the dynamic will change, but I'm also staying present in the moment and not getting too attached to a particular outcome, because I know that it's never served me in the past, and I don't believe it's going to serve me now. So,
Right.
and just keep it pushing and keep working on my mission, which is what I stated before. You know what I mean? And not let the political drama get me too down and out. So anyway, with that said, should we go over a few more of these messages here and let them sort of figure out what they think it means?
I'm sorry. I think we're both a little ADD. We keep getting off subject. Go
Yeah,
for it.
I know.
Yes.
I am totally like that, right? It's amazing
We're
that
feeding.
I can.
We're feeding off of each other.
Yep. I know. When you talked about disclosure, I got like a little kid for a second. I was like, yes, yes, disclosure.
Yep.
Because I
saw your eyes light up.
I need that today. Like I've had a hard day, like a lot of people. Like this has been a really hard day for me, and I have to keep my light shining, and I have to keep moving forward, and I have to stay hopeful. And this is the thing that I focus on, and that I'm going to continue to focus on to try to usher in a new world for us. You know what I mean? And that's just you know where I'm at. I got to try to stay. I can't get too down. It's just not going to serve anybody or humanity for me to do that. So.
No.
Okay, so let's see here. Avoid. Okay, so this is interesting. Must capital letter codes defend in French. MONDE, monde, for world. Defend the monde. So translates into defend the world. Must chastise. Take action against. I wish I could just kind of show them the email right here, but I don't. Let me make sure there's something right here that. Okay, so let me just kind of show them the email right here. So this is what I'm referring to right here. So must chastise, take action against, avoid study of dark energy until photon energy is mastered. What does that mean? Avoid study of dark energy until photon energy is mastered. Enlarge, squeeze, shrink, insert, charge. Wow. So it says insert a charged particle within squeezed light, less quantum. Are these notes from Dr. Drew here about what he thinks they mean? Okay.
Yeah, I believe the red and blue are the translated messages, and the black is what Dr. Drew typed in his notes.
Insert a charged particle within squeezed light, less quantum uncertainty, some experiments planned 2020. Capital letter code lunar. So these guys in the future, so this is Dr. Drew's note. These guys in the future sending the message are particle physicists. How does he figure this stuff out? He's like amazing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's very plausible. These are his beliefs. So what you're reading is what he believes. I'm not that well educated to understand that, so I can't really. I mean, I know what a photon is, because that's a particle of light, and that's a particle of light, and I believe if we're working with that stuff, or we're trying to work with dark energy, the only interpretation that I can come to some sort of logical explanation behind that, in my eyes, my mind, is that maybe we should be focusing on photonic things before we start working into the dark side of things. So we should focus on light.
Yes, that just occurred to me.
Before working on with dark energy, like the super collider and a collection of dark matter. I think what they're saying is that we need to focus more on photonic or photons. I guess light travel or light science before we start focusing on dark, because I think we're supposed to learn something before that, or I don't know.
We're obsessed with smashing particles and trying to figure out what we quote unquote call dark matter, which I don't believe actually exists. I don't think we understand what it is, but I think that's. Go ahead.
I believe dark matter is what makes up most of space further out in the solar system. So it's the stuff that's not made up of anything else. It doesn't have any connection with planets, asteroid belts, or stars. So it's what the rest of space is made up of, which is the mass majority of space.
So we should be looking into photonic, photonic related studies.
That's the impression that I get from that. It also meant lunar, so maybe we're supposed to be studying that on the lunar surface or something. I don't know.
Okay, so let's see. It says insert. So avoid study of dark energy until photon energy is mastered. Enlarge, squeeze, shrink, insert, charge. Okay, so we were down here. These guys in the future. So this is Red Collie, Dr. Drew's notes. These guys in the future sending the message are particle physicists. They're scientific advice for other particle physicists living in 2020. What to study next? Did you ever read Timescape by Gregory Benford?
No, I have not.
So the next code is creator will stand aside, 14 guardians remain on. And then Dr. Drew's note is gifts may refer to a crop circle message, false gifts from 2002. Oh, that's the crop circle message that I was referring to earlier. The false gifts.
Yeah.
One from 2002.
Beware of false gifts, yeah.
Or beware of ET bearing gifts drawn in crops in June of 2015. That was the same year as your experience that happened. I knew there was a connection there.
Right.
The U.S. Space Defense Force will be called Guardians in the future. Whoa.
Yeah, that's already been decided.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's already been decided. That just got decided. Like, what was it? Like this year?
That just happened like a month ago. Like not even that. You know, I do the Space Force. Yeah, that was like a month ago. Wow, I'm kind of tripping on that. That is wild.
Well, what was it? The Guardians, members or actors of the Guardians of the Galaxy are like, really? You couldn't come up with your own name? I mean, what was it? The Marvel characters was like, really? You couldn't think of your own name except for the Guardians? Come on now.
Oh, my mind just got blown. It's pretty hard to blow the commander's mind. That just blew my mind. Like, that actually says the Guardians will remain on. Creator will stand aside. 14 Guardians remain on. And he actually called it. Whoa. The U.S. Space Defense Force will be called Guardians in the future. Followed by more ASCII text to assist in decoding, then 2 cleverly coded pictures. So the next code is, let me make sure these things down here I can pull up. To vaults for examination. You know, we may, if you don't mind, CJ, coming back on at some point, it would be cool for you to come on just to go through all your codes and brainstorm with the audience and see, because sometimes it really works well to brainstorm with others. They can help you. I don't know. We can try to figure out some different thoughts on what these things may mean. And I don't know. I think that would be great if you'd be willing to do that.
Absolutely. I'm curious of what the viewers have to say. I mean,
Me too.
You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from other people. I mean,
yeah.
And I'm open-minded. So if you've got a theory, you got an idea that might be profound for me, then maybe that's the way that we should be thinking. I don't know. I don't want to be quick to judge myself or someone else, but I'm always open to new ideas and suggestions by all means.
Would you guys like that if we did a live decode and went through all the codes that or at least a good portion of them that Dr. Drew has decoded from CJ's codes and try to see what we can figure out about that? That would be great. I love my audience. They're super awesome people and they're all very smart and so I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe we should tug on Dr. Drew's ear a little bit. Red, tug on his ear and say, hey, come join us. Come join us over here.
Yeah, and we can all do, I think Dr. Drew would be into that. Like, that would be a lot of fun. Right. We can all come on here and the audience we could do live decoding together. That would be super fun.
That would be cool.
See what we can,
really cool.
What we can discover or come up with. And that would be super. They're all saying yes. They're totally into that idea. I knew they would be.
You're into that? If y'all are into it, I'm into it.
Oh, they're totally
I still have to keep my mask on though. I'm sorry.
Sorry about the mask, guys, but he has to keep his identity hidden. We're very fortunate that in his position in the military that he's even coming forward with all this stuff because, they're not too into that, I can imagine. Like,
I got a secret though.
What?
I'm getting ready to retire.
Yep, CJ gets to retire soon, so that means you can say more, huh? That'll be interesting.
Yeah, maybe I could lose his mask.
Right.
I don't know. I've got several job offers, some with the Department of Navy, some with Lockheed, some things going on here. So I don't know where I'm going to end up. But based on that, if as long as I'm not in a highly secure position, then I'll lose the mask. But if I'm hired to do some stuff, and I'm gonna have to keep the mask on, and that really sucks for me.
Yeah.
They're
totally into this idea. I already see some of them starting to do trying to dig into that stuff and trying to decode it already though. So so Ryan Gant says 12 star systems or 14 vessels or 14 fleets, 14 planets. See, they're already You know,
Yeah.
so proud. I love it. Wonderful.
So I also was brought to some attention that, there are some good species out there, and then there are some very benevolent species out there. Um, and that kind of makes sense. If you're a species that just wants to control others and make yourself stronger, I guess you could be benevolent. But if you've gotten to the intelligence level that you understand your environment around you, and
Mm-hmm.
you understand that you are um, far more advanced than another civilization,
Mm-hmm.
you don't see a benefit in trying to disrupt or destroy that particular other species. If anything, it'd be like us. We don't. We study animals, and when something becomes endangered, we try to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would imagine that there are some species out there that would just try to protect us.
That's probably
But
what
there's also,
Escher, you know about Eshed coming forward, the Israeli spacehead talking about there's a galactic federation and we have a base on Mars. Are you aware of this,
I
CJ?
haven't heard that. No.
Uh-huh. So this Israeli spacehead came forward and said that Trump knows about the ETs and was going to disclose, but somehow that got messed up. And he said that there's a galactic federation, but they're waiting for us. Something about they're waiting for us to understand what space and spaceships are before they come forward. And then he said that we have a base on Mars and we're already working with the ETs on Mars. This is what the man said.
I believe that to be true, in my opinion.
In your opinion, right?
In my opinion, I believe that to be true.
Right.
I mean, you got to really take apart things that you see. When Elon Musk is making comments like his goal is to have 1 million people on Mars by 2022,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge goal. And
no,
why all of a sudden this big rush to have 1 million people on Mars
Right.
so quickly? What's going on? So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you got to understand that if there are other species out there, there's going to be good and bad.
Right.
Just like us here on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
we protect our rhinos and our elephants, and we try to preserve them. But there's always poachers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's got to be the natural laws of the universe. If you just look among the humans in the animal kingdom, you can see there's good human beings and there's bad ones. Like there's ones that are service to self and ones that are service to others. And you just sort of, there's got to be the same element with ETs. And I mean, my own belief, I think there's a galactic federation who are more like angelics, higher dimensional beings. Then I think there's negative ones who hide out in the shadows and take advantage of our ignorance to continue to manipulate what they want out of us, And so that's where we got to get, where we evict those guys and we're dealing with just the federation, or I mean, the confederation.
Right.
And yeah.
And if you really break it down by organism, every single organism's ultimate goal is to continue living. And so they do what they can to continue their own species.
Yeah.
So.
Well, CJ, I know we're coming up on an hour and a half, and that went by so fast. I should have known better, but yeah, I so appreciate you coming on and telling your story, and I so look forward to our episode where we get to do the decodes, and hopefully Dr. Drew will come on with us. In fact, hopefully he's watching tonight. If you are Dr. Drew, hello, I didn't get to see you, but thanks for listening.
You're the man, Dr. Drew.
Yeah, if you are here, and I hope
you're the man, Red.
Lead the way with the decodes. Everybody's really going to love doing that. So special thank you to the mods. Thank you so much, you guys, for doing such a great job modding. I'm sorry if I missed any super chats tonight or any questions I couldn't get to in the chat. It's just I'm getting used to restreaming on several different locations, and I can see all the chat now, but sometimes it's a little difficult for me to keep track of it. So if I get to that point, I'm not intentionally not acknowledging you. Please just let one of the mods know so they can try to get my attention. Foil's really good at yelling at me, so she's a good one to get a hold of if you really need to get me to ask the guest something, or I need to see that someone put a super chat in that for some reason I didn't see, because I do have 3 different screens here, you guys, that if I'm not looking to the right, if I'm looking at him and I'm not looking at the chat, then I'll miss it. So
I got one quick shout out all those members of King's Thrones, Server 131. Thank you for watching. Thank you for my support, or your support. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. I'm glad we got to do this tonight, CJ, and I so look forward to our next Decode episode. And so the next thing I'll be doing would be Space Force News on Sunday night, live with Loyal to the Foil. That will be 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I think that's about it for announcements. So I will go ahead and close out the show. And I want everybody to have a good night, keep their spirits high, and let's just keep it pushing forward, you guys, and keep doing what it is that we do, which is researching and getting the truth out there and fighting for the light. Alrighty? Good night, everybody. Say good night, CJ.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you.